Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment, a podcast devoted to helping you overcome challenges in your life that prevent you from becoming the best version of yourself. Each episode features interviews with people from all walks of life about their journey of self-development and the principles they utilize to overcome their fears to achieve their desired outcome. Ready to be enlightened? Here's your host, Ken Primus.
So the Threads of Enlightenment, as usual, this is one of my favorite space right here. I get an opportunity to welcome our guests, but I know they're coming with a couple of things I personally deem very expensive. Time. Oh my God. Time. What a beautiful, beautiful partner. Once you understand her, once you've learned to respect her, honor her, man, she will honor you, I promise. For those that don't understand her value, I can see it from the choices you make. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator. It has created the individual that is here to share with us wisdom, knowledge, insight, so that we can become better human spirits while we are here on this earth. And that individual is Jen. Jen, thank you for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thanks for having me, Ken. I appreciate it.
It is an honor to have you here within our family. We bow to you and we welcome you. One of the things that I ask people, the first questions that I ask is, how do you serve mankind? And my audience know the reasons why I ask that is to remind them that this walk is not just about you. It is about us. So I always invite them, hurry up, begin your journey so that you can experience yourself first and then come and experience us because we're waiting for you. How do you serve mankind?
Yeah, I help women overcome the fears of going through a major change. And that major change could be, I'm 52, so it could be perimenopausal, menopausal. It could be divorce. It could be the kids are out of the home. It could be a loss of a parent, loss of a child. There's a lot of us as we age, a lot of us in that 40 up age group in the woman area that we have major changes. And all of a sudden, maybe when the kids are out of the house, maybe you went through a divorce, all of a sudden you look at yourself in the mirror and say, who are you? Who am I? And I feel that through fitness, nutrition, and mindset, that is how I help these women become the better version of themselves.
Noble profession, if you will, and I love it. I remember I was a single dad, had my boys, and from the minute they were born, I would tell them, I can't wait for you guys to leave. I'm going to support you until you get out. And when they began to escort my space, the house, and the last one left, and the home was empty, all their energies are gone, cried for months.
I believe it. I believe it.
I cried for months because I realized that they were all gone, and I know that transition and the cost of it and what it does to an individual because I experienced that myself, that loss. As even though I was telling them from since they are young kids that I can't wait for them to leave, the irony of all of that was so precious in my eyes as to I would come home from work, Jen, and crying because they weren't there. One of our customs that we do here at Threads of Enlightenment is to begin to jump back in that time machine. We go back through this particular portal that is called the memory. And we walk back into some of the spaces that we reside for a brief period of time. We call that time years. The first space that we visit is with these two individuals that they are going to tell us, and that's their mom and dad. Mom and dad is a stranger. The brothers and sisters, if you have any, those are all strangers. And so we are put into this space full of strangers. And these two individuals, however they see the world through their trauma, is going to now deposit information into you as an individual. What did your family look like?
Yeah. Older brother, 2 years. Mom and dad were together for slightly under 10 years. They went through divorce. Mom got remarried, I don't know how many years later, but then we lived in Michigan, and mom packed us up and moved to Wisconsin.
Oh,
And we were sort of in that shell shock of like what just happened as kids, but we knew that my mom was making the right decision for both of us, for my brother and I. My dad was an alcoholic, and but as I grew into myself and in my own journey, I started recognizing that I know he had a ton of trauma as well. My dad passed away in 2008, so 16 years of in November it will
wow.
be, and it made me realize that he too had such major trauma that he had to deal with, and he dealt with it through alcohol.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that
yeah.
is the difference how we deal with our trauma because everyone is traumatized, as I said on the
Hmm.
onset. I'm sure mom had hers, but everyone have an opportunity to decide how they're going to deal with it. And that
Correct.
decision is the individual decision. And it manifests in many different ways
Hmm.
for that individual's decision and the effect that it has on the individual and those around in close proximity. So mom moved you guys, and I know that the foundation has been shaken, if you will,
For
um,
sure.
within the family, and you make this move, and yet you knew it was a good move.
Hmm.
Once you made that move into that location, how did you begin to assimilate within that new location? You have new schools, you have new family or friends, in some cases, no one. How did
Hmm.
you assimilate into this new area?
It's interesting that you bring this up because I remember a vision of me walking into third grade in Whitewater, Wisconsin, and thinking, like, what's going on? And I remember seeing the whole class like just staring at me. I walked in and they just all like stared at me, and I thought, oh gosh, what am I doing? Like, this is scary as a third grader, right? But I
Yeah.
remember connecting with my good friend of mine, Kim Patton, and her and I were the different kids, because Kim was black and I was the new kid. And
Yeah.
so Kim and I, we became really good friends and really close friends fast because we were different. We were
Yeah.
the ones that did not blend in like everybody else.
Yeah, isn't it interesting when one doesn't blend in? We don't understand the purpose of it when we are young, but as we get
Correct.
older in life, we understand the purpose of not blending in, and we appreciate the fact that we weren't blending in, if you will, because
Right.
I think as we blend in, we are submitting to the program that
Yes.
they are believing and they subscribe to. But when we are outside of the program, part of our life becomes an observer, if you will. And so
Correct.
here you are, you were pushed into this thing and you got that quick jolt. I love that. There was a third grader getting that insight, if you will, as to the others, the Stepford. As you're there and you hooked up with Kim, how did that make you feel? Because it has to encourage you in a way because you found a a team member, someone that
Correct.
recognizes that the others are the others. So how did
Yeah.
you relate to each other as you are a part of this new? You walked into this class and you
Right.
found their connection, if you will.
I haven't really thought about it until you brought this up, but I think Kim and I bonded with Barbies. We bonded with being maybe the different kids, being, I don't know, like I can't really pinpoint anything because I haven't really thought about it that much with
Yeah,
about Kim. We still stay connected on Facebook, but I haven't reached out to her in a long time and just said thank you.
yeah,
And I should, because like she really brought me in as that new girl, and
yeah,
it was very powerful. Very
yeah,
powerful now that I think about it, because here we were, two women, two girls being different, and that's not a bad thing.
No. So as you guys are moving through life, as one is growing, as we are aging, if you will, and you're adapting to your new location, what was your relation like with the others outside of Kim? What did that relationship mindset thinking when you engage with them? What was that?
I think I wanted to be the cool kid, right? I wanted to
Yeah.
not be different. I wanted to be the popular girl. I wanted to be that person. And as I aged over through with time and in high school, I was that girl that, was the cheerleader that played softball, that was, playing softball as a on the varsity as a sophomore. I was on the student council. I was on the Spanish club. Like all of these, I was because I wanted to not be different. I wanted to blend in and be the popular girl. I didn't want to be that girl over in the corner playing with her Barbies. I wanted to be that girl on stage. I
Hmm.
did. And I think now that we're talking about this, like I think that was what I thought was the cool thing to do, right?
And so one of the beauty about me, um, my assignment, Jen, that I feel that I have with my guests is to do
Uh,
exactly what I'm doing with you,
oh, nice. I like it. I like it.
is to begin to delve a little deeper and release some of those hidden gems that you had within
Hmm.
there. So here you are, and you wanted to be, you had made a decision within yourself that I wanted to be that popular girl, and you took the steps necessary to make that happen. And I tell people that's what life is.
Hmm.
Life is making a series of decisions, internal decisions. I believe those decisions that are life changing are done by and made by the subconscious individual. I don't believe it's made by the natural mind because the natural mind is flaky. I think the subconscious mind knows exactly what it wants, and when it makes that demand, because we're energetic, it calls energy, which are people, and you fulfill what you had just made that demand on. And so you demanded that you would be this, and you stepped out and began to create it. And as you created it, how how did it resonate with you as you see yourself manifesting, if you will, what you wanted, that you had made this decision inside?
I mean, for me, I don't talk about my original job that I well, there's a it's a I did two things in my world. In 1989, I watched the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii,
Hmm.
and I said to myself, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to do the Ironman. So
Hmm.
there I was, like sort of like taking that hey, look at me,
Yeah,
right? And
to a
I
different
actually
level.
did it. Yeah, and I actually did a TEDx talk about this. I did a
Hmm.
TEDx talk. I was trying to get my dad's attention
Yeah,
through sports because my brother and my dad had that intangible bond that we didn't have, right?
yeah.
But then my career path prior to working with women in the fitness space, I was an
Hmm.
animal trainer for many years. I worked with the beluga whales, Pacific white-sided dolphins, California sea lions, otters, and my last 3 years were with killer whales. I left
Hmm.
in '09. And so, like I said, I don't talk a lot about that job because of all on people's beliefs, and I totally get that. I understand we
Hmm.
all have opinions, but it was those animals that I absolutely loved, and I wanted to
Yeah.
be that popular girl, right?
See, I another reason why I go back with my questions, Jen, is to unearth that right there that you talked
Hmm.
about, that trauma that causes us to make decisions to manifest certain things. And that trauma that you had spoken about is that bonding with the father and the son that you wanted to do. You wanted that
Hmm.
type. And now,
Hmm.
based on that data,
Yeah.
you now, as an
Huge.
individual, are going to live your life by making decisions to try to make that a truth. to manifest in your life. And so
Right.
we found that thread that
Yeah.
I love
But
to uncover.
the one thing I do have to say though, after I crossed the finish line to my first Ironman, I
Yeah.
realized I didn't need my dad's validation anymore.
Yeah, I know exactly. I'm telling you, this is, and that's when you gave birth to Jen. That was the
I
time you
did.
gave birth to Jen. Before that, and I say the same story to my listeners. I bring in my story as well. I did not become Ken Primus until I was 35 years old. That's when I broke from my parents because until then I was living to please them. And an incident took
Mm.
place in my life with my children. They were coming between my children and I. And that was the very first time as an individual that I stood up to my mom and dad and voiced my displeasure in what they were doing. And at that moment, I realized I just gave birth to myself.
I love that.
And I was 35 years old with 4 boys. And so
Ooh.
we go through life trying to please others until that day when we become an individual, just like you did. When you pass that line, you no
Mhm.
longer recognize the value or the necessity, if you will, in pleasing Dad. It's
Yeah.
now about me. And so here
But
you are.
yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say like here I am like that that was 30 years old
Yeah.
realizing not pleasing dad, but I've also realized I've done many different changes and transformations of not pleasing mom, not
Hmm.
pleasing anybody, but taking
Yeah.
care of myself. So, yeah.
That is the whole thing. That's the game right there because subconsciously we've been programmed. And as we began to learn all these things, we have to shed those that are in marriage. You have to shed that belief system and all the stuff about your husband and your wives and all that stuff because
Hmm.
aspects of you subconsciously was living to try and do things. And not much years later is when you realize, what the heck?
Yeah.
So here you are. Here is this woman. We're going to jump as your triathlon. And I love the fact that let me ask this question. You said you saw it on TV. And then
Hmm.
again, you made that internal decision that I'm going to
Hmm.
manifest this at some point. When you began to navigate towards it, because then you have to implement the plan to make that a reality. When you began to move yourself in that direction, Jen, how did you feel? How did you relate to you? Because this was something you really wanted. How did you relate to yourself when you were in pursuit of something you really wanted?
So me getting to Kona, Hawaii for the Ironman World Championship
Hmm.
was a two-part why because my grandfather was my mom's dad was a very powerful man. Like I just looked up to him. And when I told him I was going to do the Ironman World Championship, he's like, I'll go with you. I'll be one of your sponsors. So he was almost
Nice.
my second. And I was like,
Hmm.
I have to get to Kona. And so I got to Kona. It took me 28 years. I can tell you
Hmm.
that. But I got to Kona. And I think the biggest thing for me was really finding myself who I was and
Let me ask you.
really, yeah,
Go ahead. Go, go.
no, go ahead.
When you were there, because as an athlete, I know uh, the athlete's journey because I was one of those. You now have to transform yourself. One meaning transform your mindset, you believe, because you have to push the body now beyond its boundaries, its limitations. All of these
Hmm.
different things you're going to learn as you are in the practice form, the preparation form for that race.
Hmm.
Talk to us about that process because it is a very important process. And I tell people, an athletes and artists, they have the mindset to walk through decisions and processes because they have to go through that in their training and in their art. Talk to us about that aspect of transforming yourself in your mind to not become this individual because you're pushing your body beyond. limits.
Right. And drastically we are. So I tell everybody this. I did 11 Ironmans before I got to, no, I did 12 Ironmans before I got to Kona. So
Yeah.
it took me a while to get there, and it was a process. I did 4 Ironmans and got married, went through like try to have kids, all of that stuff. Like it was just an ongoing thing. And then when my ex-husband and when he got to Kona and I was there watching him and I was
Hmm.
sitting on the pier, and I swear I looked over and I saw my grandpa sitting on that pier with me and him saying, "What happened to that dream? I thought you were
Wow.
supposed to be in that water with them." And all of a sudden it clicked because
Yeah.
I did 4 Ironmans, took an 8-year sabbatical. And then when I'm sitting on the pier and I see him, I'm like, that's right. This is my dream. I
Yeah.
was starting to give society their
Mhm.
dream.
Yeah.
I was trying to have kids. I was trying to have, a family. I
Hmm.
forgot that dream that I originally said to myself when I'm 17 years old. But like we've talked about, Ken, society was telling me, oh, okay, now you're married. Now you have to have kids. Now you have to have two and a half kids. Now you have to have the white picket fence.
Yeah.
In reality, and the ironic thing from it is when my ex and I started dating, I said, I don't want any kids. I never
Hmm.
wanted kids.
Hmm.
So
Isn't it
interesting.
funny?
Yeah. So
I, I
I
believe,
sort of forgot my
yeah,
dream at one point.
we do that though. I think because we, as you said, we default back to the default, and it is maintained for a few years, and then that awakening comes, which
Hmm.
again gives us the opportunity. And I tell people, personal development is not a linear journey. It never will. It's never
Right.
designed to be that way. And if anyone tells you that it is designed to be that way, they're lying. Find yourself another individual that is going to tell you the truth, because it is not a linear trip. It has all
Right.
kinds of, and I use the example, Jen, of a plane. Let's say something, a trip from New York to Hawaii. When you're flying, that plane is not a linear journey. It goes all over the place, and they have these little things that are called turbulence. And there's so many different types of turbulence, just like life. There's so many different types of turbulence in life that will cause that pilot to make some adjustments as he's going through. But I tell people, don't lose your compass, don't lose your North Star. And your grandfather came back to remind you of your North Star.
He
Aren't you
sure did.
supposed to be doing that? And once you get reminder, what did you begin to do?
I immediately took action. When we got back from Hawaii, I said, I'm
Hmm.
signing up for Ironman Florida. And so a year later, I did Ironman Florida. And after that 8-year sabbatical, I went to town. And so I did Ironman Florida. And then 5 years, consistently for 5 years, I did 2 Ironmans a year. And then in 2017, I did Ironman Mont Tremblant in Canada. And 8 weeks later, I'm in Hawaii because I
Talk to me
qualified it.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, you qualify. Talk to me about that. Here
Ooh.
you are now, that day. I mean, what a rush. Emotions are coming from all over the place. Your grandfather, the 17-year-old girl, all of it just coming at you. How did you embrace all of that?
Oh, I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about that day still because it was absolutely magical. My sister-in-law came with
Hmm.
my niece, and at that time, my niece was 12, and then my
Hmm.
nephew was 16, 17, 16.
Yeah.
And I remember I went there just knowing that I'm like, I'm going to qualify. I'm going to
Yeah.
qualify. And I remember talking to a girlfriend. She's like, Jen, I want you to pretend you're Pac-Man. And every time you go and you run, you gobble somebody up. You grab their energy.
Energy.
You
Yeah.
grab their energy. And so
Hmm.
when I would pass the women in my age group, I felt like I had more energy.
Yeah.
So my first loop on the run, I kept looking at my time. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going fast, but this is good. This is good. Maintain it, maintain it. And then I
Yeah.
come around and I see my niece, my nephew, and my sister-in-law, and I stopped and I give them a hug and a kiss, and I'm like, and they're like, go, 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 keep running. I'm like, no, I need your energy. I need your energy. And the last mile and a half, I remember going gulp, gulp, and I'm like, and then I would play this game with me.
Yeah.
And I remember crossing the finish line, arms up in the air. I clocked under 11 hours,
Wow.
and I just put my hands in my head and I just screamed because I knew I had one of the best race of my life, but
Yeah.
I had no idea where I was in placement.
Yeah.
And my niece said to me, like, as I was like puffing and puffing and like down on my knees, and she's
Yeah.
like, Aunt Jennifer, did you qualify for Kona? And I said, baby, I don't know, but that was one of my best races of my life. And then I
Yeah.
found out they looked on the app, and they were like, Jen, you placed third in your age group. I was like, what?
Wow.
And then I said, I knew the woman who placed first who already got the slot to Hawaii,
Yeah.
and there's two slots for my age group at that time, and I knew
Hmm.
I was going to Hawaii.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. When you got into Hawaii, that's another thing. Talk to us
Oh, that's a
as
whole other. We don't have time for that, but honestly though, Ken, it was weird because
yeah.
so butterflies is a very strong symbol for me when it
Hmm.
comes to my grandfather. So I'll give the backstory on that is that when I was training for a world championship for the duathlons for the Team
Hmm.
USA in 2001, my grandpa passed away. And I
Mm.
remember going out there training, and I'm in San Antonio and I go crest the hill, and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I out here? My grandpa just died. And all of a sudden I had a swarm of all these yellow butterflies. And I'm
Wow.
like, okay, grandpa's here. So butterflies throughout my whole life, even to this day in Costa Rica, when I see those
Yeah.
big blue morpho butterflies, like
Yeah.
grandpa's around me and I know, like, I'm like, where am I at? Who am I with? What's going on? And it's
Yeah.
always just a reminder. But Ken, when I went down the hill to turn right on Alihi Drive, and I saw the finish line. I saw my mom, her dad, so that's her dad. I saw my
Hmm.
mom's best friend. I was like, I slowed down because
Yeah.
I didn't want to say goodbye to.
Wow.
I was like, I don't want this journey to end because it's like that was that bond that my grandpa and I had for years. I really feel like my grandpa was more of a father
Yeah.
figure to me than my dad was. Anyways, when I turn and and I could send you some photos of me like
Please.
I am crying my eyes out because it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I made this journey. I did it, Grant. And I looked up to him, I said, Grandpa, we did it. We
Yeah.
absolutely did it. But the great thing is that my grandpa's still around
Oh
me to
yeah.
this day, which is beautiful.
And I'm sure he'll come and visit and encourage you in life's race as well.
He
What a
does.
powerful, powerful story, Jen, to walk with this 17-year-old all the way until she makes
Yeah.
it and is able to enjoy through the emotions of tears and just crying
Mhm.
of the accomplishment. So talk to us because I know you have you're pressed for time. When your world began to crumble, as they say, that day the visitation of that walks into us and we all have an opportunity to expand. I think those days come, Jen, to expand
Mhm.
us um, because we can get comfortable, if you will. And stagnation is one of the most
Mhm.
dangerous places to be in a life. To be stagnant without moving. It's lots of critters when you look at the stagnant water housed there. So as you've done your accomplishment, you've made your achievement, You mentioned the fact of a divorce. Let's talk a little about that because a lot of
Mhm.
women out there are
Sure.
fractured right here and feel as if there is no, they can't move on. Um,
hmm
Talk to that younger Jen, and in relation to the others that are listening outside of that conversation, talk to that younger Jen about what you, the older Jen, knew while she was there. Encourage her, if you will, and those that are listening to us that are in that space as well.
You're going to be okay. So the older Jen would tell the 17-year-old Jen that you're going to be okay. And that I, my heart tells me that this was the path I was supposed to be on. I
Mm,
was supposed to go through the divorce. I was supposed to go back to the girl I once was. One thing a lot of people assumed that I moved down to Costa Rica to run away from my marriage, to run away from the divorce. But in reality, I went back to the girl I used to be. And I was that, I really feel that I was that free bird when I was with Kim. Kim and I were
hmm
just doing our things. We didn't, Kim and I did Kim and I, now that I think about it, right?
Yeah.
And then society tells me, oh, you should be this way, you should do this, you should do that,
Mm,
I've always been very strong with water. And so, here I was, for many years, I was working at SeaWorld, I was around water. And then all of a sudden, I'm a triathlete. I found I'm around water. Like water is my nature. And when all of a sudden I didn't have water anymore, I was like, something's missing.
yeah.
Something's missing. And once I asked for the divorce with my ex, people thought I was crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you leave this? He didn't abuse you. He wasn't this, da da da. It was all society. It's like, so do you want me to sit here and go through something that I'm not happy in anymore because society tells me to? No,
hmm
I'm not going to do that. That's not healthy for me.
Yeah. I hope, Jen, I always try to encourage my listeners to learn to transition from listening. We have to start there to become a hearer. That's where stuff gets done. When one hears, it's the inner man, that subconscious individual. When he picks it up, it becomes a reality. And I want to pose this question to all of you out there, especially the women in a marriage or even a man in a marriage that is stifling your growth. This question must be answered by you. Who are you without the children? Who are you without your husband? Who are you without mom and dad? Who are you without your friends? Who are you? Spend time to get that answer because it's very important. It will guide your decision process, and you will learn once you begin to get some insight into that question, it will guide you and move you through your pain. So here you are, you've made your decision, you got some water. I know Costa Rica, I have my brother, his wife are going to move that way. When you severed yourself from the pain, from the programming of society, and you now are returning to yourself, to Jen,
hmm
what did it look like? It's never that rosy picture. There's a lot of
Ew.
fearfulness in there, but you know that that North Star is still driving you on. What did that fearfulness look like, Jen? And how did you navigate through it?
Oh, I was scared. I mean, I left the life that I knew. I left a
Yeah.
3,000 square foot home with beautiful furniture. I had a Jeep Wrangler. I had everything that a girl could have, materialistic wise. But when I realized that it wasn't serving me anymore, it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. I had to figure out, well, what does fulfill Jen? And when I chose, I was either gonna move to Costa Rica, Hawaii, or California. Obviously, I chose
Hmm.
Costa Rica. But I said to myself, what does this version of Jen look like? And there was many nights I cried, many nights that I would journal. I would wake up in the middle of the night and just write about love and heartbreak because I didn't know what else to do. I had to get it out on paper. I would go to the beach and meditate every morning. I still try to do that. I don't do it as much as I should because I'm in a much better place, but
Hmm.
I still do that. I still journal, I still write, but you could see the shift in my writing. The
Yeah.
shift is definitely a stronger, I don't want to say that I'm healed because I don't think we're ever completely
Mm.
healed, but
Yeah.
healed from going through that divorce.
Yeah. I hope you were hearing again what she said. She invited several powerful tools that are out there into her being to partner with her to move her through her pain. Journaling is one of the most powerful ones out there, writing. Then you have meditation. All of these tools Jen brought into her space to assist. They
Mhm.
became her friends, her confidant, her buddies, if you will. And they are powerful allies to bring into your space to assist you. Meditation, as you guys know that have listened to this program, have saved my life, and I still meditate. I love doing it because it helps me to get to know me. It
Mhm.
helps me to become much more of a creator because it gave me power to choose which thoughts I want to give permission to manifest
Right.
in my life. That is where you get your power. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, and where I get my power is strength training. The strength training has brought I strength train 5 days a week, and
Hmm.
then I found a new love, and that love is called a surfboard. And I started surfing about a year ago, and it has been the most fulfilling time in my life. And all
Yeah,
I need is an ocean and
yeah. I
and I
invite
don't have my
people.
phone. Yeah, I don't have
Go
my
ahead.
phone. I don't have a computer. I don't have anything. It's me and the water.
Yeah, you don't have all those limitations.
Hmm.
I keep telling people
Hmm.
there are so many different ways to change your state. And meditation, that's what it is. Journaling, um, writing. It's a change of state.
Hmm.
Whatever yours is, find it. Jen talked about surfing. There's millions out there, guys. You look into yourself and find what helps you to change your state. It may not be the classical meditation. I remember interviewing someone, a housewife, and she said vacuuming was brought her into
Yeah,
that
sure.
state. So
Uh-huh.
whatever that state is for you, please, please find it because I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it will bring you much joy and happiness. And I know that Jen has another commitment. And what I'm going to do is I want to bring her back because I'm going to bring her back and we're going to have this conversation from when she got to Costa Rica because she when you get there you all think it's rosy and nice, but then I tell you what, girl, you gotta put your work together, and that's where the journey really begins. And I
Yes.
know she has another um, commitment, and so what we're going to do is bring her back. um,
I love that.
I'll let her give us the schedule, and we will bring her back so that we can continue this conversation. And we're going to pick it up from when she gets from Costa Rica and how she was able to do that. In the meantime, I want to encourage you guys. We're going to give you all of her links. She's an author, multi-author. I think there's like 3 books she has.
Hmm.
Um, get familiar with her because when we bring her back, we're going to get more familiar with her. And you know how I feel about books? Books house power. Those words will,
Ooh.
if you allow the words to do what they're known to do, they will change your life. And that is, you must put yourself in a state of to receive. When you go to her books, don't just go there just to read a book. Go there expecting to be changed. If you
Yes.
do that, you will be changed. And
You
so
will.
she has other sites. We're going to provide all those links. She does nutrition and all of these things. She is valued. Her wisdom and knowledge can sustain you and take you into other aspects of yourself. And so we want to honor her and thank her for coming to Threads of
Thank you,
Enlightenment
Ken.
and be respectful of her time, and so that she can keep her appointments. Jen, I want to thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
we're going to get all your links and everything so that people can get access to you,
Great.
so that you can take them to that next level of their journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Run to your.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully, you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.